4/13/2015, and I'm talking about the UFC, and what it stands for is Ultimate Fighting Championship, and they sometimes refer to MMA too. So MMA means mixed martial arts, and what the UFC is it's a combination of wrestling, boxing, and submission holds. So you got striking, grappling, and submission holds in the UFC. So and it's most of the time it's in a octagon with a fence around it. Like I think it's like a 7 or 8 foot. It's like a 7 or 8 foot fence around it, I think. But it's the UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship, and they got the women on there now. But it all started because the Gracie style of jiu-jitsu wanted to prove to the world that the Gracie style of jiu-jitsu was the ultimate self-defense, and there was no other style, no other karate, no other judo, no other wrestling, no other boxing. There was no other style, period, whether it be boxing, wrestling, judo, grappling, whatever you want to call it. There was no other style that could beat the Gracie style. So the Gracies, their family wanted to prove, especially the dad, wanted to prove to the world that the Gracie style was the ultimate style, and there was no other style, whether it be boxing, karate, judo, wrestling. There was no other style of self-defense in the world that could defeat the Gracie style. The Gracie style was made by the Gracies, of course, and that's how the UFC started. It started with the Gracie family wanting to prove to the world that the Gracie style was unbeatable. That's how the UFC started. So then the Gracies started it, owned it, and then they sold it to Dana White. They sold it to Dana White, and from there on, it's history. It's where it is today, with the Hall of Fame and with all the expert MMA stars or Ultimate Fighting stars, grappling and striking and boxing, judo, karate, kung fu. You got it all. Everything, and whatever will be the best defense, or self-defense or defense. That's what you'll see in the UFC. Now the WWE, that wrestling stuff is Hollywood. That's more Hollywood stuff, and it's got actors in it. They're actors. They're not really self-defense, and it's not really wrestling. It's all staged and it's all pre-planned. It's not a self-defense, but doesn't even compare to the UFC. But that's Hollywood. If you like a lot of Hollywood stuff, then go to WWE or the wrestling. Like with Hulk Hogan and stuff on it. I don't know who's on it now. Back in my day, it was Bobo Brazil and the Sheik, and that was back in the '60s. Back in the '60s, it was Bobo Brazil and the Sheik and uh, Flying Fred Curry, and the different wrestling stars, because it's not self-defense and it's not wrestling. It's got a lot of wrestling moves in it and that, but it's all pre-planned, and it's more of a Hollywood stunt more than every WWE episode is more of a Hollywood stunt than what you call self-defense. And of course they get hurt. Everybody gets hurt. I mean, you know, even actors that don't wrestle or anything, they get hurt and doing their acting sometimes because just the way it is, you know. But now when a MMA guy or Ultimate Fighting guy gets hurt, this stuff is for real, man. I mean, they get hurt a lot more often because it's real. The UFC is real, where the wrestling WWE is more fake than anything. It's all fake and pre-planned. UFC, you just go in the ring with what you got, and you come out of the ring depending on what your knowledge was when you went in the ring. so it's all on you. There ain't no script. There ain't no Hollywood stuff. It's all once in the ring. You know, outside the ring, yeah, they do a little. They do sometimes a dramatic entrance and stuff. Like with the Gracies, they'll do a line of all the Gracie family, and like a train, you know, one right in back of each other. They have like 6 or 7 Gracies going in a train to the ring. Well, once in the ring, it's all on you. There ain't no script, and there ain't no plan. This is all real, and if you win, you won it. It ain't nothing like the UF or the WWE. So if you've never seen a UFC match, I suggest you see it. You can learn from it, like different submission holds, the defense, the self-defense, and defense and offense of wrestling and karate and judo and boxing. All that stuff is all in the UFC. So if you've never seen one, never seen a match, I would suggest you go see a few of them. You're probably going to get hooked once you see one. The UFC, it's all real, unstaged, and these are badass dudes. They are. But it's everything you ever want to know about self-defense is right here in the UFC. And the better the condition, the better the fighter. And the better the knowledge of self-defense, the better the fighter. So the better the knowledge and the better the physical condition, the better the fighter. And I'll be showing all the people that have been inducted in the UFC Hall of Fame. UFC Hall of Fame, I'll be showing that. All the people inducted in the UFC Hall of Fame as of 2013, when the last 2 people were inducted in the year 2013. They'll probably be adding more later, but 2013 was the last time they inducted two more people into it. But I'll be showing it on this video, so stay tuned and watch the whole video. Know the fighters. And there's not that many of the inducted. I think there's like 10 inductees in the UFC Hall of Fame as of 2013. And I think that's very important for people to know. I love to know it, but and they're each one has a their name, of course, and then their talent. You know, like Gracie. Gracie's style is like a bull constrictor. Gets you on the ground and ties your hands and feet up, and he's like a boa constrictor. And the different other than they're like, it's kind of like their stage name, but it's more of what their style is, or how they fight in the UFC or defend in the UFC. It's more of that. So it's pretty cool. UFC is a pretty cool. I was hooked on the first one when I first saw the one. There's Dana. That's Dana White. He bought UFC from the Gracies, and it's the Gracie's dad who started it to prove to the world that the Gracie style was the ultimate style, and it would be undefeated. And there is no style, no boxing, no judo, no karate, no kung fu, no grappling, no wrestling, no other style of self-defense that is higher than the Gracie style. And they wanted to prove that. And that's how the UFC became about. Today is 4/13/2015. So 2014, there are 12 UFC Hall of Famers, with Patrick Militek being the last inductee to the UFC Hall of Fame, and he's number 12. And I added also the two women, the flyweight or strawweight, and that's one woman that holds that title, and then I added another lady woman that holds the bantamweight UFC title. But there is no women in the Hall of Fame at this point. And today is 4/15/2015. And like I said, the last inductee to the Hall of Fame was in 2014. And that was Patrick Militek.